Hello and welcome back. This is part 4 of our 2.5D Parallax series using Blender 3D and Photoshop. So we've done all of the hard work in Photoshop, and we basically have our background, which we use the clone stamp tool, and we cloned areas, and hopefully we did a good job. We won't know until we bring it into Blender. We have our different objects that we want to be able to move the camera past and get that parallax effect. So here's the kid, the stairs, tree number 1, and tree number 2. Now you could end up with more objects, but I consider these to be the basics. So they're all saved as ping files, so that way they have transparency. So this gray that you're seeing here is in fact transparent and visible. Alright, so from here on out, unless we made any mistakes or need to go back and make any changes, we'll be in Blender. So you can put your stylus away for a while and you'll be in Blender. Alright, so I fired up Blender, and the first thing we need to do is we need to install an add-on. So we're going to do that by coming up here to the File menu, going down here to User Preferences, and then clicking up here on this middle tab called Add-ons. You then want to come over here to the left in the search box and type in the word Images, and what you'll see is an add-on called Import Images as Planes, and you want to check this on over here on the left, and then you want to click Save User Settings down here in the bottom left. If you don't hit Save User Settings, you'll have to reinstall it every single time you use Blender, which is a pain. So what this add-on does, if you don't know about it, I consider it essential, as do many Blender users. It allows you to load up any image or video, which is awesome, and it automatically attaches the video or the image to a plane. And it takes care of a lot of things that we used to have to do manually, like scaling the plane to the right size and just and all the texture options, and just a ton of work. And so it really saves it. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click to select the cube. I'm going to press X to delete the cube. Alright, so now I can go ahead and I can bring in my planes. So wherever your 3D cursor is, so you want to left click to place your 3D cursor. I want my planes to be put right at the center of the world, so I'm going to reset my 3D cursor. So I'm going to press Shift C, C as in center, and that brings my 3D cursor to the origin 0, 0, 0 on the XYZ axis. Okay, so now I'm going to add in an object. I'm going to do Shift A. I'm going to choose Add Mesh, and down at the very bottom, now you'll have the add-on available called Images as Planes. Okay, so I know that I made my folder on the desktop, so I'm going to go to Desktop, and you'll see here's my folder that I made called Parallax Project, and now you'll see all of your images in alphabetical order. One thing that's a lot nicer in Blender is if you come up here, right above all of your files, you'll see 3 little buttons, and these are different ways that you can view. And I like the third way with the 4 little squares, and that way you can actually see a little thumbnail of all of your images. So I don't need all of them, but I need most of them. So before we actually choose our photos, we're going to come down here to the bottom left-hand corner, and there's these Import Images as Planes options. So we want to activate a couple of these here. So let's scroll down. Okay, so there is a section here called Material Settings, and we want our photos to be set to shadeless. And basically what that does in a nutshell is it means that Blender's lights won't affect the images. They'll just come in nice and bright. They won't receive any lighting or shade. So make sure you set that to shadeless. Let's see, you want to double check and make sure that Use Alpha is activated and turned on. That means that Blender will see the transparency in these ping files and use it. So of course we want that. And that should be pretty much it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my background image. I'm going to then hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to select the kid, the stairs, the tree, and the tree too. So by holding down Shift, I can select those, and you see I could skip these middle ones here. And now I can choose Import Images as Planes. So they come in as planes, and they're all separated and nice and next to each other. if you right-click on one of them, you'll see down here in the bottom left corner of your 3D view, it'll tell you what file it is. So that add-on also names all of your objects, which is really cool. And then, of course, it's based on the image. So what the heck, where are our lovely images? So what we need to do is we need to tell Blender to use this 3D view and display it using a different setting. So right down here on the bottom of your 3D view, you'll see this little white circle. And right now it's set to solid, and that's why you only see solid colors here. So I'm going to change that to material. So the second from the top. And now you'll see that we actually get all of our images there. Okay, so everything is facing the positive X direction. You can see the red axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my camera set up first, and then I'm going to get my images pulled in. So I'm going to right-click and select my camera. I'm going to reset its rotation and reset its location. So to reset its rotation, I'm going to press Option R. If you're on a Windows computer, that would be Alt R. To reset its location, I'm going to press Option G, and you'll see that it snaps perfectly to that center spot. Okay, so now I'm going to move the camera a little away on the x-axis. I'm now going to press R, X, and then type in 90. So RX 90, and that rotates it up 90 degrees on the x-axis. Okay, now I need, of course, to face it towards my pictures, so I'm going to rotate it on the z-axis. So R, Z, 90, and then I'll left-click to accept. So there it is right there, looking straight at my camera. I don't know if it's seeing everything yet. We'll look at that in a moment. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to split my window into two windows. That way I can see a camera view at all times, and I can have my work view here. You don't have to split your window into two views. You could just press 0, and now I can see through my camera. My camera is selected. So I could do this. If I want to move my camera in, I could just press G, X, to make sure I'm on the x-axis, and then I could move my mouse, and I could move my mouse in so I could actually see the camera shot. Now you'll see that the height of my camera looks pretty good, but my width of my camera is not the same size as my image. So that's something I can take care of before. So again, to do that again is I selected the camera by right mouse clicking it, I pressed G, and I knew I wanted to move in the x-axis, so I pressed X, and then I moved my mouse forwards and backwards until I was happy with it, and then press left mouse button. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment and save right now. So File, Save. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to click on my Parallax project folder, and right up here at the top part here, remember, is it shows the path where your project is being saved, and down here what the name of your project is. And I'm going to call this Parallax Setup. Just press return once and then twice, and we're back. Okay, so now I'm going to right mouse click and select the kid, and I'm going to click and drag and move him over on the y-axis. Now you'll notice some flickering going on, and that's because both of these planes are exactly right on top of each other, and that can and most likely will cause problems. So what you're going to want to do is once you get it in pretty much the right spot, then what you're going to want to do is you can either take the kid or the background and put some space in between them. So for instance, I can take the kid and I can move him on the positive x-axis, so where the arrow is. So I can press G, X, and then move him forward a tiny little bit, and there he is now. He's now in front with a little bit of space. It's really hard to see. Maybe you can see it here. But there is some negative space in between those two planes there. So there we are. Okay, so to finish this up, I'm going to go ahead and bring in all of the others. Now again, you can go into camera view if you want, and that's a nice way of looking at it. And there's still, I'm just eyeballing it here and just getting them set up just right. There we go. And what I'm using to frame this is I'm using the boundaries of the image. So you can see I'm lining up the boundaries of the image so when it hits that right there, I pretty much know I'm in the right spot. Now I'm still going to get that flicker, and that's because of the background and the stairs are competing with each other. So I may have to do a little shuffling around here. So I'm going to move the stairs a little bit forward, just a little bit, so the flicker stops. Okay, I'm now going to go ahead and shift right click, and I'm going to select both of these and move them on in. And again, I'm going to go ahead and move this in on the y-axis. Go back to my camera view, get it set up. And I'm not going to worry about the flicker just yet. I'll take care of that in just a moment. So again, bring this on in, go back to my camera view, zoom in, and just slide it into place. And I'm looking at those boundaries to see if they're really lining up. And there it is. Now you can see that because, again, they're sharing the same plane, we're flicker and we can't see the two images. So what do? Well, the easiest way right now, instead of moving all the individual objects, is to just select the background object, and then I can go ahead and I can then go ahead and select the background, just move the background. So there's a nice little trick here. So we have a whole bunch of overlapping objects right on top of each other. An easy way is to hold down the Option key, put your mouse over all of the objects, and right click. So Option, right click, and you get this really nice select menu. So I'm going to choose background by left clicking on background, and now I have the background selected. Now if you're not sure if you have the background selected, you can always look down here in the bottom left hand corner and you can verify you in fact have the background selected. Now I can just take the background and I'm going to move it on the x-axis. So G, X, I'm just going to bring it back a tiny bit, and now it's behind everything. Okay, and you can see as I orbit around, I have no flicker, and I can basically see everything. I'm going to go ahead and do File Save, and I'm going to look through my camera view. Okay, the last couple steps I'm going to do is I want my camera to fit this shot. Now, I could just leave the camera like it is right now. I'm going to select my camera. So I just right mouse clicked on it to select it. And what I'm going to do is we'll talk in class. You could change the size of the camera to match the image, and it actually would work out just fine. This camera view right now is actually a normal standard camera size, and it's an HD high def camera size. So right now it's 1920 by 1080. So if you've ever seen on YouTube where it says 1080p, you know, that's kind of what you're seeing. So with the camera selected, over here on the properties panels over here, you'll see there's the render panel, which looks like a little camera, and down here you'll see a resolution area, and you can see this camera's dimensions are set to 1920 by 1080. Right now it's at 50%. So I'm going to ask you to click and drag and make that 100%. You can also click inside and just type in 100%. So now you're getting a full, if we make this into a movie, you're going to get the right full size, 1920 by 1080, and if you upload it to YouTube, it would be in HD and it would look great. So that's what I'm going to recommend. Now you notice I can't see the left and the right hand side of my shot. That's okay. The cool thing is now we could actually animate our camera, and you would get to see that that shot. You'd be able to see that parallax effect. All right, so that's going to be pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we'll go about setting up your camera and actually animating your camera, and then in the next couple of videos, we'll actually get into how you would want to animate a subject, in this case the kid. If we wanted to animate his arms moving a little bit or maybe his head slightly tilting, we could do that. So this is it for now, just importing your planes, getting your camera set up, and just getting everything ready to go. Make sure you save often, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.